There's still some residual struggle in some of those topics, but we're
Yeah.
just repetition, getting it out of my body and into the world, and hopefully someone resonates with the story.
Yeah, I
Working
think
on getting better.
yeah, I think your pain, your purpose is in your pain. And so many things that I used to hide from when I was going through, from being demoted to divorce to suicidal to bankruptcy to, all these things, Clinton, dude, I was so ashamed of those things. And now, dude, I'll just shout it from the mountaintops, because it's like, I recovered from all of those. Now in the moment, it seems like, never gonna make it out of this. But
Right.
I was walking the dogs the other morning, dude, and I was like, from where I was just 5 years ago, I mean, I was damn near checked out. And 5 years later, my life is unrecognizable. It's
Yeah.
nuts. But sometimes people don't know whether they're 2 inches or 200,000 miles. It feels like you're 200,000 miles, but you're closer to the end than you actually realize. You just got to keep going.
Yeah, 100%. So I apply the general philosophy in life is life's finite. Most people, majority of people, believe they're going to live forever in this body, and their actions are aligned with that. So they waste a lot of
Mm.
time and energy doing things that aren't going to help them in this time and place. Now, a lot of people out there believe that there's transition and you live forever, your reincarnation, life after death, etc. And I'm one of those people, but I understand that this is the proving ground to get to those areas. Like the Vikings, if you didn't die on the battlefield, you didn't get to Valhalla. In Christianity, if you don't live a life of selfless purpose and you're a good person, you don't make it to heaven. The Quran's the same fucking way. They're
Yeah.
all the same. So this is the proving ground to develop your worthiness to transcend this body and time. If you don't put in the work here, you won't get to the other side of glory in any religion. Reincarnation, you go backwards if you fuck up this life. So
Yeah.
that's why you have to be as good as you possibly can here to transcend. So
Wow.
that's spiritual. So they can't be wrong. And even if they were wrong, what is the hurt in living a selfless, prophetic style life of
Hmm.
trying to help people better yourself, challenge yourself? That's that is prophecy. That is the best
Hmm.
experience in humanity. We both know that. You
Yeah.
found yours, right? You turned around your pain and weaponized that pain and struggle for good. And you show up for your family every day and just sit down. We sit down, people like you and me, we sit down and we explain how much dramatically better our life is when we just made some
Yeah.
very simple changes. They were hard changes. They weren't easy
Yeah.
changes,
Yeah.
but they were simple. The game plan is not complex.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not.
100%. Mm-mm. Yeah. We make it so much harder than what it is. And why live a life of hell, man? I mean, this is, you're heaven on earth, literally. I mean, you got to make the best of it. And there's so much, no matter what you're going through, there's so much you're going to gain from this. If
Yeah.
not in this life, in another life, right?
100%.
Yeah.
This to me is in line with everything that matters.
Yeah.
I'm showing up every day, just like thousands, hundreds of thousands of Americans. Show up every day, live present now, just do an inch better than yesterday. You
Yeah.
can never go wrong today.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's showing up every day, like with a purpose. There are people who just show up and just expect something to happen for them. No, you got to lay the brick, man. You got to, like you said, move 1 inch. That's all you got to do. Lay one brick today. That's my mantra. Lay the brick. Lay that one brick today as perfectly as possible, and one day your wall is going to come. It's going to reveal itself.
That's right. And over time, you build better and better and better. And occasionally, you need to break down the wall and
Hmm.
start over, but then you apply all those new skills in life to the first fucking layer.
Yeah.
And now you have a solid foundation,
Well, that's good.
dramatically better than your peers. And now you're laying down a masterpiece of masonry for your life, for everybody to see. And the
Hmm.
people that are going to live in this house are now protected, they're now provided for. You're the leader of the building structure. It's your house and your kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
and you're deserving to be inside it and everything that great that comes along with that.
Mm-hmm.
But you had to develop the skills to build the foundation. It took years of your life to develop the man you hear. Most of your life to get to this level of mastery. We have gray hair on our beard. This isn't dyed in. This is stressors of life. We're weathered, right? And with that weathering, those scars of life, emotional and physical, everything that we've all been through, we get wise and we
Yeah.
apply that wisdom. It's sad that it happens so late in life, but that's when we were deserving of it.
Yeah.
It's okay. At 20 years old, I couldn't have handled this kind of wisdom.
Yeah.
My
Mm-hmm.
mind would have just melted out of my ears.
Mm-hmm.
But now I can sustain the stress of this life. It's just normal for me. It's not
Yeah.
even stress. Running
Yeah.
multiple businesses, right?
Yeah.
Successful relationships, good relationship with your children. You're leading your children, developing the next generation, and then leading people into their own success. That's a humongous amount of stress and responsibility. 20 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to handle it. I
Yeah.
had different stresses then, and I handled those at the time with grace. And now I built on top of that skill,
Yeah.
just like all wise individuals do over time.
Yeah. Well, I guess we should welcome those to the sales life. We just did a rolling start, man, and just rolled right into it. This is the kind of conversations, man, I love to have, and with deep thinkers. There's two G's that occur when it comes to conversation. There are people that talk about gossip, and there are people that talk about growth. And I'm only interested in sitting down with the people that are talking about growth. And today is my pleasure to bring Clinton Dye onto the Sales Life podcast. And this is a new segment that I'm going to call the Coach's Corner. And what we're going to do is there's enough about me. There's enough about 700 however many episodes there are, and 99% of those are solo projects. And what I wanted to do is I've been fortunate that I've been able to really get some great connections on Instagram. And Clinton Dye is one of those guys. It was just a no brainer for me, not because he's bald headed and strikingly handsome, but it's man, hey, it's an advantage. So, but just to give you a little context on that, Clinton lives in San Diego today, and he's got quite a story that we're gonna touch on a little bit. In hopes of my hopes today is that you realize that your life is not over. And just from this rolling start, you realize how we actually look at things it's evolution, man. You just got to continue to go on. And Clinton's going to break down his story just a little bit as we roll out for context. He's a 4-time Marine veteran. God bless him for that. And after a great career there in the military, he was in the private sector with a private contract, and basically walked away from that. A very lucrative contract, very lucrative lifestyle, and has now devoted his life to coaching others to help them change their lives and using the fabric of his own stars and scars and helping people get their lives back together as well. So, Clinton, welcome to the Sales Life.
Thank you, Marsh. I appreciate that intro for having me in. So we're just going to give it to the audience raw here. I'm a 4-tour Marine Corps combat veteran. I participated in both assaults in Afghanistan and Iraq. I have a 9-year active duty Marine Corps career, 13 years as a defense contractor. I have a master's degree in software engineering, 1 year into a PhD, and I also have 355 weeks of my life spent in a combat zone supporting the war on terror in one aspect or another. That's 6.8 years. So that's my intro. I'm also a victim of family domestic violence at 5 years old, which resulted in my mother shooting my father in front of me in the chest with a 38 caliber handgun. So my message to all the people in short form, before we get into this great conversation we're going to have, is no matter what you've been through, it's a lesson to learn from, apply, and grow through. You can survive anything as a human with a spirit and a beating heart and breath in your lungs. Always remember that. That's
Yeah.
my message to the people. Thank you for the opener, Marsh.
Oh, you bet, man. I mean, this is why, folks, this is why I wanted to have him on because you look at your life and the situations that you're going through, you're like, oh my God, like we always think that we have it worse, but this guy from childhood on has never had he never had the gold BB shot in his ass. I mean, this guy has had adversity from day one, and he's got a PhD in FIO and figuring it out. And so he
Right.
has taken some big licks from seeing his mother shoot his father to a very dysfunctional household, living in a trailer park, and getting into some trouble and ended up going into the military where he caught his stride, leveraged that toward a defense contract and has leveraged that and gone on to do other things as well. And can you imagine, man, be in a combat zone? I can't even fathom that, dude, to be there for almost 7 years and being in it's got to be some of the most fiercest firefights, huh?
So, laid out for the audience here, I am not a infantry guy. I was not a sniper or scout sniper or one of those active engagers. So what I did in the military was a air defense controller. So I managed the airspace at 21 years old in the United States Marine Corps. I was one of two other controllers that were probably under 25 or 30 years old. So I was a corporal at one time. I think I was the only corporal E4 in the United States Marine Corps controlling aircraft onto targets forward of the line of troops in both those wars. I was a very low rank executing and managing airspace with weapon systems and control of multi-million-dollar aircraft. And at any one time, we'd have 25, 30 aircraft actively dropping targets and assigning targets in Iraq war all day, every day, 12, 15-hour days, months on end, right? Engage target, passing targets, weapons of mass destruction, suspected bathhouse leaders, troops in the open, tanks, equipment, close air support, all that kind of thing all falls into the realm of air defense control, weapons management, surveillance, and traffic. I had a crew, I understood the systems, and we just got it fucking done.
Wow. So walk us through, the time that where was kind of and I say bottom out moments because I believe rock bottom has many levels. And so where you think you're at rock bottom today, it sometimes just gets a little bit worse. But where did things
Right.
start to turn south for you um, in your life? Was it while you were in the military? Was it after the military?
So the first event where it turned south is I was on the other side of the fence. I was living a life lacking purpose. I was doing drugs, drinking daily. I don't remember a sober day in high school kind of life. That's
Wow.
what I lived. So coming from the trailer park, made it into residential America. We moved from Houston to Austin. I lived with my dad, etc. at high school, and I was just going down the wrong path. I played sports, so there's probably some head trauma related to being a middle linebacker at the high school level in Texas football, right? So all that stuff. So my history of violence that I grew up with kind of helped mold this rather toxic young individual, right?
Yeah.
Hyper violent. I was a little smart, so I avoided trouble. I really never got in trouble for anything because I just avoided the guillotine really wisely. But regardless, I had a pending drug charge right before I went into the military. Got that was dropped, and one of the suggestions from the district attorney was, well, this might not go to trial. However, I suggest you find yourself in the Marine Corps in 21 days.
Mm.
Right. That was the conversation from my attorney. He goes, unofficially, the district attorney is a prior JAG officer, Marine Corps JAG officer. And something in your story resonates with him after our conversation. So go ahead. And if I were you, I would find yourself in the Marine Corps fucking fast, Clinton. Right. So I remember who I was. Guy not doing things that you should be doing, I had an unplanned pregnancy coincide with this with my ex-wife. She was my girlfriend at the time, right? So I had all these big things stacking up, like a 76 to 97 month charge with drugs, and then a pending pregnancy, and I was living a life of toxicity. And this dude said to me, if you don't make a choice in the next 24 hours, he goes, that's where you're going. My father was a California hippie, drug addict, right? Heroin, etc., alcoholic. And he was a blue collar worker at this time, and he'd cleaned his act up. So we weren't military family. There was no flag in our front porch. There was no oorah. There was no hua. There was no war movies. We didn't do that in our household. It was peace, love, and hair grease, right? Like smoke some weed, chill out, relax, let's go surfing. That was the kind of guy like my dad was from. He was a Southern California guy. So I had that happening. The next day I was like, I want to hear more about this, which was in line with what my attorney said. So he's like, yeah, just go get yourself tested and see how you are physically. We'll see how you are mentally, like how smart you are. I passed the ASVAB with flying colors. That shit was easy. And they said you can have any job you want. So their defense controller thing was one of them. I was like, oh, that sounds neat. They make it sound very glammy and glitzy at the recruiter's office. Next day I went down there and I took my physical test, did everything, passed flying colors. And in 3 weeks, I was standing on the yellow footprints in San Diego. And boy, did my world change quick. In 12 weeks, I went from a soft around the stomach kid, used to smoking weed, drinking every day, taking rohypnol as a pastime, those kinds of things, hanging around strippers, the strip club, just a life of uselessness and toxicity. And now I'm getting yelled at by these hyper alpha Marine Corps drill instructors. I'm waking up on time. Oh God, I wrote a letter. I think I wrote a letter. Boy, Dad, I think I may have made a mistake. I think I wrote him. My first letter was, I think, just one line. I was so tired. It was in the evening on that first Sunday. I'm writing a letter to Mommy and Daddy that, my life has just ended and these fucking guys are yelling at me. And I don't know if I'm going to make it. Right?
Yeah.
I said, boy, I might have made a little bit of a mistake here. And, it takes forever to get snail mail, right? Because there was no cell phones and email allowed in that place. But no, that ended up being the best choice of my possible life. They taught me kind of some things that are in line with my current process that I've learned over the years, which was that early rise, structure, and then that brutal honesty of the Marine Corps. You hold yourself accountable. Poor action is poor action. They don't give out participation trophies in combat. This is real life. So you earn the respect of your peers and you earn the respect of your enemy over time, right? However, I learned most of my discipline and ethics, and I was never late in 9 years in the Marine Corps. I exercised probably 6 days a week, right? In the gym, throwing weights, running. My diet wasn't on point. I wasn't aware of how to manage diet and macros at the time, but I learned a lot of those basic structures, right? Selflessness, which is in line with the Marine Corps ethos, because you're doing something for the betterment of the United States, right? And your crew. And then discipline, you're showing up on time, you're putting out that work, you're developing your skills, and then you're getting better and better and better over time. So I learned that's where I developed a lot of the disciplines that carried forward in life. And I ignored them at some point. I thought they were stupid when I got out of the Marine Corps, and I just kind of fell off the wagon. But then I had to go back to those disciplines because they're so fucking effective.
So, what was the thing, Clinton, that what was the moment or the transition in your life that you got away from it once you got out of the military, that you turned back to it and said, dude, I got to get back to this structure? What was going on in your life then?
Right. So about 2000, late 2001, I was working as a defense contractor, one of the big 5 contractors, managing multiple multi-billion-dollar programs in the defense organization. So high stress. So post-COVID, my work will have shot up through the roof as part of the management team there. And we had a hiring freeze. So just huge amount of stress is trying to execute these billion-dollar programs, save money, right? Because revenue was, the contracts were contracting a little bit and there wasn't enough funds in the coffer to execute, the downturn of the Afghan war, the pullout of all that, most of the region. So it was just, my stress went up through the roof, right? So these are kind of the standard processes of the defense organization. They ebb and flow. And we were on the bottom part of the curve here as we're pulling out of Afghanistan. Contracts are drying up, revenue's drying up, and we're trying to save jobs, etc. So huge amount of stress. Regardless, I had reverted back into old Clinton, which was managing my stressors and PTSD with alcohol and drugs on the day to day. So this was kind of a trait that I learned in the Marine Corps. It's a fraternity style organization, right? Hyper alpha males in groups running together kind of organization. So think of like a fraternity, right? What do they do in fraternities? They're a little bit immature and they act like kids. And what do kids do when they're bored is they drink.
Right.
And I used that mechanism to manage my stress through most of my life. I had reverted back to that style as a professional adult, and it started to erode in my life, right? It's one step after the other. So there was no physical activity. I wasn't managing my nutrition, so I wasn't feeling good as a human in general. And then I started to introduce stress, alcohol, and drugs again into my environment, and rapidly it destroyed my life. I started to struggle in my profession. I was waking up tired, more and more tired every single day. My relationship, my girlfriend eventually left me, right, in 2002. And that's kind of the point that I hit rock bottom, right? It was an eye opener that there was something wrong with me, right? Although I had achieved all these things in my past, I'd allowed my life to stagnate, right? I wasn't focusing on bettering myself. I wasn't focusing on being present now. I was doing everything possible that you could imagine to avoid this reality. And it started to erode everything that mattered to me. The things that were most important to my life, the things that you would die for, it started to destroy. I was destroying my own life. I was self-sabotaging the success I had built on over the years. Destroyed my relationship with my ex-wife. It destroyed the relationship with my children. Destroyed the relationship that I currently had, that I was in love at the time. Right? It destroyed that. It was destroying my body, my mind, and my spirit. I was having a difficult time managing life. It put me in such a dark place. I loaded the shotgun, set it up on the wall at 4 a.m. And I asked for, not a reason to live. I asked the universe for a reason not to die. That's all I needed to live, is a reason not to die. And if I didn't get one, I set a clock on the iPhone for 60 minutes. I'm not a guy that negotiates with anything. I didn't negotiate with the Iraqis in war, and I'm going to negotiate with the Taliban in Afghanistan. I'm not negotiating with Clinton in the universe either. It's not up for discussion. 60 minutes. Find me a fucking answer so I don't walk over there, put that shotgun under my chin, and pull the trigger. And it came to me. Now that's a morbid request from the universe, and I would never ask anybody or suggest they do that. Ask someone like me or Marsh for help. Go to the VA. And there, in that time, the answer came to me. And the answer was I was becoming a coward. I was this hero in my own eyes. I had lived this life of selflessness. I defended my country. I had done horrible atrocities in the betterment of our national security. And I had sacrificed so much through the years that I was going to abandon my children and allow the world to raise my children, and also leave all that stress to my ex-wife, that I was going to be a coward, that I had never given up the fight. And my whole life, everything I'd been through, I'd never stopped fighting. That here at this point in time, I had allowed the darkness to creep in, the devil to convince me it was okay to take the coward's way out, and that was the solution, so that the pain inside my head would stop. And that in itself was a lie that the devil was telling me. And then I heard it clear as days. You're a coward. Why are you stopping the fight now? And there I went on my journey of rebirth, finding the energy that I was looking for from big voices and mentors in the mentor space. I resonated with Andy Frisella, Joe Rogan, David Goggins, Wes Watson, Jocko. It's just, the list is so deep, where I had never really used the internet as a source of strength. It was just a pastime that I wasn't interested in. And there it is. I started hearing these voices. They started coming to me, right? Calling me out, my inner bitch, right? My weakness and self, my devils, my vices. And they were all right. They were saying similar things in a different way. But that was all true. That doesn't mean it wasn't true. The universe had spoken to me in a way, right? And I started one day at a time. I remember, my mantra in my business is just 1 inch better today. Wars are battles won on inches, not miles. That's not true, right? It's inches. It's a battle of inches. I just need to do 1 inch better today. And this point in my life, it was, I need to have one clean meal today, Clinton, to feel better after that meal. And I need to go to the gym. My first time I went to the gym after years of not being in the gym, at the lowest point of my life, I walked in, Marsh. I was in the gym for 4 minutes and 30 fucking seconds. I walked in, I touched a weight, right? I did like one set of curls.
Yeah.
Right? I said, hello, hi, my name's Clinton. Nice to meet you. Like, I'll come in here every day after this. Like, and just walked in, went in there, and then I went over to the sauna. I love sauna. I love the wet sauna, the dry sauna. I went in there and I just sat in the sauna for 10 minutes. My heart rate got up a little bit. I'm jiggly, soft in the middle, embarrassed to take my shirt off a little bit.
Yeah.
I was a sad excuse of this man. I was like part man.
Yeah.
Right? I was something else. I was a monster just in skin, right? And then I went over to the wet sauna, and then I went home. Right. And just getting those endorphins up from the extra heart rate and the movement, like, I felt great. I felt great for a moment. Right. And then I just started working at it. Every day I would say, hey, I just need to go to the gym 1 more minute. Yeah. Right. And I would literally set a clock. I'd set a clock. Today's 6 minutes. And I was holding myself accountable, like on my schedule. And then eventually over time, I hired a mentor myself. I did as much as I could on my own. And then I hired the best guy that I could find that resonated with me. I was hurt, not hard. I needed someone that I resonated with, that was larger than life, to inspire someone like me to be better, to unleash that sleeping dragon inside of me, right? The dragon that's on the arm. Right? There's a dragon inside of me, right? I needed someone to wake that motherfucker up.
Yeah.
Shake him by the neck, bitch slap me around a little bit, say, I know you can be better. I see you. Like, get to fucking work. That kind of voice that just is unrelentless, doesn't waver with your bullshit, because that person was inside of me. I just allowed it to atrophy.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where my journey sort of skyrocketed in early 2002. So 2002, my girlfriend left me, sent me a fucking text. She didn't even call. We never even spoke after she left the city. Broke me in ways it hurt. It completely broke me. It broke my mind. And it's not her fault. I deserved it. I deserved everything that happened. She was a great woman, and I was non-deserving of her love and time in her world. And that's okay. But it gave me enough wake-up call to redirect 99.99% of all my energy inward. Right? I stopped wasting the time with the corporate world. When it was after hours, I wasn't doing work for free for the man. Right? When my friends were calling me to go drink and do drugs and party and have a good time, I stiff-armed that shit. When I wanted to go do things that weren't in alignment with the person I wanted to be, I stiff-armed it. I was like, nah, you're being a bitch. Like no. Like, my self-talk turned around rapidly. I'm like, no, our purpose is in this direction. We've got to drop the LBs, right? For those people overseas, the KGs, right? You got to drop the weight. You got to get back to your previous self. You got to work on your mind. You got to meditate. You got to seek out adversity every single day to improve. And it hurt. I'm at the age where things fucking hurt.
Yeah.
Right? I've been through enough. There's enough inflammation and scars that when you wake up in the morning, it's a fucking blessing, right? I look at every breath as a blessing. So, like, getting back in the gym, there was pain, right? But eventually you just numb the body to it. And now I can push through it. It's like I have zero pain now. But it took getting all that toxic energy outside of my body and just working at it to get to a healthy position. So
Wow.
this is where my world transitions from fat, degenerate, loser mindset, thinking, and behavior to success. It wasn't overnight. I had a lot of foundation already built. I had laid a lot of bricks previously, like Marsh says, but I had allowed that shit to crumble because I wasn't
Yeah.
maintaining the skills. So you get it back much faster once you've had it, but you still got
Yeah.
to put in the work.
Yeah, that's the blessing about that too is when you do it, and that's why it's so important that it's a good thing that things take you years to build, because it's not the result that you're actually after you think it is, but it's actually the process that leads you to the result. And this is why
Yeah.
you see Clinton, where these millionaires can lose it all, and you can drop them in somewhere with $1.50, and they
Yeah.
can they can become extraordinarily more successful than they were before because they built it once before. So when you lose it, then don't sit there and kick the can down the road talking about I once had it all. You're not starting over, you're actually starting with experience. So leverage the experience, draw on those things. What were some of the, what's a handful of things of a process that you put together that led you to that? Work on those few things. You can't do it all, but you can do what's next. And so if you do just a couple of things, you master those things. I say, Clinton, that you got to be average before you be great. And so you
Oh yeah.
have to put the averages in, get that consistency going. The consistency is what's going to build the momentum. The momentum is going to create the confidence, and the confidence is going to, all of those things come together, and that's what's going to lead to the results itself.
Yeah, 100%. I had a woman tell me one time, "Man, you're a badass fucking dude." Right? Like, what's going on? And I wholeheartedly believe it's like, no, I was like, I'm not badass. I was like, I am just average in all the categories that matter. So I spent a lot of energy getting all the measurement pillars of how a man is weighted and evaluated by a female up to average or a little bit above average. And of course, there's some categories that are way above average. However, when you look at all my life and how I was performing at the time, everything was basically average. When you
Mhm.
added all those up, it really put me in the above average categories
That's why it's
in
called
my own
extraordinary. It's the extras that you put with the
extraordinary.
ordinary.
It's just it's a layer. Like you
Yeah,
develop one skill. So
like that.
my general process, like yours, I think, is we hold ourselves accountable. We know our deficiencies. We're brutally honest with the things we know we need to be doing better. So the
Yeah,
only way to get better at anything you suck at is to do them more often.
yeah,
Put in the repetitions and the cycles and develop the skill
yeah,
and the time under duress, like getting on this camera, for example. I feared getting on the camera. One, being judged by the audience. I was worried that something I would say, I would be judged. And then I wouldn't do good at it. Of course, I wouldn't do good at it the first time I was on a podcast and telling my crazy story to the entire population. I would be horrible at it because I have no experience.
yeah,
Just like everything is, if you don't do it, you won't get better. So it's okay. Embrace that you're going to suck. Put the ego to the side. Acknowledge that you're going to be horrible at it, and it's okay.
yeah,
Because when you kissed that first girl, you weren't great at it, right? When you approached that first woman, the woman of your dreams, she just ran away because your approach was so horrible. But eventually you get good to where your close rate when you say hello to pretty women to go from hello to like a cup of coffee gets pretty good. And
yeah.
it's because you develop the skill. But in any skill in life, you're never going to be good the first right out the gate. And
Right.
you have to put your ego away. The ego gets in the way of 99% of all adults and almost every decision they make. You have to remove the ego, right? Get that honest criticism from yourself first, right? And then the universe will tell you that you suck at whatever you're doing. You just need to do it more. Like,
Yeah.
I acknowledge you. High five, bro. That I only have I only drive in a Corvette, not a Ferrari. Like my house is only 2,000 square feet instead of 4. Like I'm glad you. Can you show me how to get that? Like thank you for your criticism. Like teach me. Like I want to learn. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you got to work 18-hour days, Clinton. 18-hour days. How many days a week? It's no less than 7. How long? 6 years. Okay, I can do that. I can do that. Like, I'm on it. If I want a 4,000 square foot house or drive a fucking Ferrari, and that's what it takes, and that's all it takes, it's just I need to 3x my output to get in a fucking Ferrari. Done.
Yeah.
6 years, and then I'll be a master. I'll be at the top of the industry, whatever skill I decided to master in 2 years, and then I get a new skill, and then in 6 years I'm like some savant of some industry just because I have 3 lifetimes of work and
Yeah.
in 6 years. Okay, that's what it takes to get a Ferrari. I love Italian cars. Deal.
Yeah.
Like, will you be my mentor? Like, we meet up once a week and you guide me in my business? Sure. How much?
Yeah.
Oh, like, I don't want anything. Like, just 30 minutes over beer. I was like, I don't drink, homie, but we can sit down and talk business for 30 minutes in life and whatever. And I can give you my strengths and you give me yours. Cool. High five, bro. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Like, and I just don't miss those meetings because that dude is taking time out of his life to help me be great or better. And he sees something I can do with it. So teach me. And I get multiple mentors, like in everything. I suck at sales, I go get a sales mentor. I talk to Marsh right here about sales closure. I watch Marsh's stuff because I was never a salesman in my life. I didn't understand the process of sales and interacting with people. So people like Marsh that are experts in this field, it fascinates me how the human mind works in through those processes of rejection throughout the sales process. Right? There's time to press energy, there's time to pull back energy, there's time to match energy, there's time to just abandon the conversation. It's like, you're right, you don't have money, you don't need help. That's good. I'm here when you are. Like, high five, peace, deuce, and just keep watching the content. You just bounce, but you have to learn that, right? And I wasn't in that industry, so I never learned sales. So I look to people like Marsh and experts in that field to actually guide me in my weakest areas, because I'm running a business now. I'm the sales guy. I'm the marketing guy. I'm the back end. Right. I'm the videographer, the photographer. I'm the star. I'm the CEO. I'm everything. I'm a 7-pillar business and one little man. Right. It's a fucking pain in the ass, but you got to get good at those things. So when you're ready to hire someone of quality, and you're making enough money, you know what to look for, you know what quality is in your own business, and then you can guide them in a way that meets your company's business profile and agendas, right? And you won't get swindled by someone that talks fast, uses fancy words, but they don't know shit, right? I don't need another person in my life that has a poor attitude, right? You can train up on skill. I can't untrain bad behavior and horrible toxic confrontation with employees. So I like someone that's lacking on skill, but their ego is outside of their body. Like, they're like, whatever, like, let's just get better, make this better. Like, I love what you're doing. They're selfless. Like, they work way harder than someone that knows better than everybody else, but they don't do anything.
So that leads me, I'm glad that you bring up the sales aspect, Clinton, because, one reason why I created the Sales Life is to help people in the sales industry to continue to stay in the industry. But also, I say everybody is in sales, because selling by definition is getting someone to accept your product, service, or idea. And so even if you're not selling a product or service per se, you are the product, you are the service, you are the idea. So from a baby to the boardroom to the bedroom to the nursing home, we're all in sales. And I believe so one thing that I've tried to do is sales is not us against them. And so I try to blur the lines and bring a lot of the sales techniques that I've learned in the profession. These same techniques are what help me get my life back together. And so they're broken down into 5 core skills that we have access to. We just don't use them very well. And those are communication, curiosity, creativity, continuous learning and action, and productive confrontation. So with the few minutes that we have left, I'd like to break down each one of these and see what your relationship is, not only with each one of these, Clinton, but also how you help a lot of your clients in the same way. So the first one would be communication. A big part of everything to change everything in your life is communicating, but it's not necessarily communicating with others first. It's communicating with yourself. So when did the narrative begin to change in your own life that you began to communicate differently, instead of saying, and reminding yourself of everything from childhood on and calling yourself a POS and all these mistakes, when did the narrative and how did the narrative begin to change that became more empowering and less destructive for you?
So in 2002, most of my life was transactional. I would it was a relationship that it was a, sort of a toxic situation that I had just developed over all my life, where almost I viewed all the world as transactional. That was it. Like, I do something for you, I get something back, or reverse. That's what I had developed over the years. Highly transactional. That doesn't work very well. You were cap out in that style of communication and behavior over time. So I adopted the concept in 2002 of selfless behavior. So I'd identified my coach, right? I think we both have the same coach.
Yep.
And through my readings and different books, and I am a grabber of knowledge. Like, I like to learn and expand my mind, but I don't like to just learn for the sake of learning. I like to apply it. So I developed this concept and learned this concept of be in alignment with your purpose, right? And I define your purpose as anything you would do for free. So if you would do something for free because you love what you're doing, then you're in line with your purpose, and then you get so good at it that you can charge someone for it. That's
great.
That's how you find your purpose. So in line with that concept, you must be doing something of a selfless endeavor. So I offer value to humanity through my content, through my behavior, through my mentorship, my digital mentorship throughout the world. This is my selfless endeavor. I've been through all this pain. It is my job as someone that owes back to humanity for all the death and destruction I've been through throughout my life. I owe, down to my last breath, I have to pay back humanity with a way that they can be better. And the way that they can be better is what worked in my life. So the things that I did that improved my life, the things that I did to get successful, the things that I did to fall in love, the things that I did to fix my body and my nutrition and my fitness and my spirit, those things are what I give back to the world. So my purpose is a selfless endeavor, and every action I take on the day to day is perfectly aligned with my purpose. Now, that doesn't mean I execute it perfectly, but I am aware on the actions I'm doing now, whether they're in alignment with the man I want to be tomorrow, or am I backstepping? And every single day in the morning when I wake up at 4 a.m. Marsh is earlier than me. Good for Marsh. I can't fucking do that. I won't do that. I'm up at 4 a.m. regardless. I immediately do 4 sets of push-ups for failure. Get the endorphins going. That is my new drug, right? Exercise is my new drug. I meditate and I self-reflect. In that reflection period, I am evaluating how good I did yesterday. So remember, part of any plan is you have a plan, you execute the plan, and then you evaluate how well you're doing. You're measuring results. Every single day, I measure results from yesterday. Did I get up on time? Did I put out in the gym? Did I measure my macros? Did I help people? Did I show up? And did I control my anger and my behavior in a positive way? Or did I break that character? Did I break the alignment of who I am now, going in the direction of who I want to be? Every single day, I'm reflecting on how well I executed yesterday. And the only thing I have to do today is do something today that I didn't do perfectly yesterday. And no one's ever perfect. So you're chasing perfection and you can never grab it. But I know that yesterday was imperfect and I just need to make today a little better. 1 inch. Marsh is laying a new brick every day. I'm getting 1 inch better every day. And in a year, I've built on every single day. Every single midday, I'm reflecting on how accurate my morning was, right? I spend 5 minutes self-reflection. Boom, I'm off. Right? I don't waste time. We don't analysis paralysis, death by analysis paralysis. We've all heard that. I don't do that. I've never done that. I learned that in the Marine Corps. You make a decision, it's life or death, and it works out the way it works out. You have
Yeah.
to make a decision in your life. If you sit there idle, I will always create that business tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. Procrastination fucking kills you.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't procrastinate. I never procrastinated. I just ruined my life at one point, and then I got back to work and remembered the playbook that made me successful. What made me successful in combat was I learned is that there's the only decision you make that's bad is the one that you never make. You have to
Yeah.
make decisions on a battlefield and you have to execute now. The only
Yeah.
way we win on the battlefield is we outmaneuver, we out attack, we bring more technology, we bring more tactics, we bring more people, and we execute faster and faster than they can react. That's the successful playbook in all combat. That's
Yeah.
it. You avoid their strengths and you exploit their weaknesses.
Yeah.
Sun Tzu, Art of War,
Yeah.
right? These are basic business functions, but they work extremely well in your life. Don't procrastinate. Just come up with a plan, good, bad, or ugly. It's the plan. You go out, execute, you iterate the plan. It's not like I'm going to die on this plan. No, you just got to get moving so you can learn the lessons, the micro lessons day to day on how you're failing and how you're succeeding, and then fix the areas that you can get better on iteratively all day, every day. And you just got to look at it objectively, silence the ego. And these are sort of my daily processes. I hit the gym 6 days a week. I measure all the macros that I eat every day, like Marsh. That's why Marsh is bald and beautiful and ripped and fucking rich, is because he measures his goddamn macros. He goes to the gym and he puts out intensity. He shows up for his fucking family. His wife's happier than she's ever been. His kids respect him. His dogs know who the fucking boss is in the house. Like, the world is looking to Marsh for what he's doing right. Right. And then I remove all forms of toxicity from my life. Right. A toxic thing in your life is obviously any chemicals that you're putting in your body that you know that you shouldn't. Right. There's no study that ever said that cocaine's going to make you live longer. Right. You should probably not be doing it.
Yeah.
Right. I remove toxic foods. So I try to eat extremely healthy and clean. Everything that I eat and put in my body is getting me the results that I want. So I won't eat a Snickers bar, although that thing's tasty. I'm not going to eat a Snickers
the ice
bar
cream
because
ones, man. I love the ice cream sticker bars. They're like,
I will fucking kill 100 Iraqis on the battlefield for one thing of Ben and Jerry's. Like, I don't care.
You know, I've
I
never had
love
Ben and
that
Jerry's
stuff.
before.
Cookies and cream.
I've
Oh
never
my
had Ben and
God.
Jerry's.
That shit ain't in my
I've
house
had
anymore.
plenty
But
of
I used to.
Bluebell. Don't get me wrong.
Bluebell is the best ice cream in the country. I don't know if you know
God.
that.
Yeah.
It really is. They only sell that in the South. They don't sell it on the West Coast here.
Oh, I didn't know that. Really?
I don't. If anybody in the audience knows where I can find some Bluebell, I'm gonna eat that shit on camera because I have not had Bluebell in probably 2 decades. Right, and it is the best. Cookies and cream ice cream. I will eat that on camera and I won't break my macros, but I will deviate from my meal plan for the 100%. Moment to get on camera and eat a Bluebell.
Yeah.
And we'll dial in the Marsh and I'll show you. I love
there you go.
Bluebell. You can see it in my eyes. They will roll back in my head like one of those serpents. It'll like double blink, and you'll see like the Terminator skeleton underneath when I'm eating that Bluebell ice cream. That's just this shit.
100%. You know, I want you guys
forms of toxicity, remove it. All of them. People, things, actions, thoughts, self-talk. Get that shit out of your body. Silence the devil, right? He just wants you to regress back to where you were. Yeah. We're not going in that fucking direction. We're on our purpose. We're trying to be better. You won't be perfect, but hold yourself accountable when you're not.
Yeah. And what I like about that too, Clinton, is, you know, the communication style that you have with yourself is not one of condemnation. And so when you need to make adjustments, yesterday was not, you know, the best possible day for you. And so you make the adjustments and you stay out of that condemnation by saying, okay, it's the communication part of it. Then it's the curiosity aspect that is so necessary in selling your way through life. And so what Clinton does is he asks questions of himself as a check back from the day before. And then based on that, he uses his creativity to, you know, come up with new strategies, new adjustments. And he doesn't throw his hands up and say, oh, well, this is just not meant to be, and revert back to his old ways. Who can't get 1 inch better every single day? Just that 1 inch, just do it as perfectly as possible, make the adjustments, and keep it moving. So I know you're just you're a rabid learner. The fact that you were in the military at 21 years old, doing such high level or making such high level calls, is there anything that has been just really transformational for you in learning and then applying that to your life, Clinton, that bubbles up?
I struggled in some things over the years. Like reading was a big thing that I struggled with in my life. Like it just didn't grasp words. I don't know, there's something wrong with me, or it's just boring or whatever. I was an active guy. Like I didn't want to read knowledge. But eventually I started to read once I got out of the military. And before I went into college, I started college right around 22, 23. Uh, After my first tour, I knew I didn't want to be in the Marine Corps forever. So I thought, well, you might want to get a little bit of educated because this life's tough and it's not getting any easier. So I started reading. And one of the first books that I read was Pleasure. The first few books I started to read were Pleasure, but then I started to develop this hunger to take myself out of my body and get into someone else's thought process. I fell in love with reading and where it could take my mind. Once again, it was a way to escape, a creative way to escape this reality. So I read a few books. Obviously, I think I read the Bible maybe 5 times, right? And not that I'm preaching Christianity to the audience here, but the Bible is a compilation of stories, biblical stories of some
Yeah.
type of ethical value throughout all of time. And those
Yeah.
things aren't really aligned to Christianity, they're pre-Christianity, right? Especially the Old Testament. A lot of those stories are in alignment with things that are in the Quran. Like Christianity and Quran are like about 100 years apart. Muhammad and Jesus were on the planet with just 1 century apart, right? So in the scale of time, that's relatively same space and time, right? And their message isn't that far off. So I really resonated with that the biblical terms in the Bible, not down to the text in the scripture, but the broad scopes of what those books are saying. I've read countless number of military books, tactics, Sun Tzu. I mentioned Sun Tzu here. So Sun Tzu was one of the books that kind of brought me into my tactical prowess, if you will, and kind of the art of the samurai, the selfless endeavor, like extreme discipline and honor and no retreat. And you die on the battlefield like Vikings and the Spartans and 300 and the Battle of Thermopylae and how they overcame the Persians with a low number of troops down to the last Spartan they died defending Sparta when they knew that they didn't have the cohesiveness of the Greek state to battle the Persian army. So these things kind of resonated with me, but there was kind of messages that I identified over time that sort of started to make sense that I put together in life later, right? One of them is your selfless endeavor. So if you live a life of challenge, right, you restrict what goes into your body nutritionally, and you embark on difficult physical activity, right? That's why they trekked far. They took long hikes across the world to go see some temple somewhere, and they restricted food for 30 days, through self challenge, right? These steps of adversity are really proofing what you can endure,
Yeah.
right? And they raise your spiritual level, right? So that behavior I also noted that you need to live a life of selflessness, of high ethics, right? It never benefited anybody just to be a douchebag trying to get the next pleasure, right? You're not going in the right direction. You'll have a hard time bringing in love into your life. And then I learned is that you need to be everything you want to be. This is something I've learned over the years, and I may have read it somewhere. So I don't have a specific book. I mean, I've read Napoleon Hill, Winning the Devil. That's a good one. Obviously, I have tons of books that I've read in different space. I'm getting into the Stoics. I've read Plato and other books and stories, Martin Luther King, anybody. I've read books on Hitler. Not that he was a great man, but his way to move the masses
The
is a
way,
unique
leadership. I mean, you gotta,
communication skill. That guy convinced people to go out and do horrible atrocities, and not that what he did was a good concept, but his ability to move and speak to the masses is
The fact that he was just a
historical.
scrub back in back in the days. I mean, he was a low life, and how
Yeah,
this dude moves a whole country. I
that's
mean,
right.
it's just like, how in the hell did that even happen? So
How
yeah,
the fuck did he convince the Germans to do that just
I just don't
two
understand
decades
it.
after World War One?
Crazy.
After World War One, coming out of prison, right? How did he do that? I'm interested in how he spoke to people,
Yeah.
not what he accomplished. I don't
Yeah. Yeah.
idolize
No,
Hitler or
100%.
think anything he did was good. It was absolutely atrocious, but his mechanism, how he communicated, he was a good communicator. Other communicators throughout history, I read their books.
Mhm.
Obama's a good communicator. Whether you voted for him or not, the guy gives a great fucking speech. I
Mhm.
want to know how he's doing that, right?
Mhm.
Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. The list goes on and on and on and on. Wes Watson is a great speaker. They speak in
Mhm.
such a way it's captivating. I have that curiosity of how I get better. So I've read all kinds of books. I can't point out any of them of
Yeah.
note. You said from the Quran, I've read the Quran. When I was in combat fighting the war on terrorism, it's good to understand your enemy. I need to understand the thought process of the enemy so I can exploit their weakness and avoid their strengths, right? It's hard to get into a knife fight with someone that believes they're going to go to heaven if they die by your hand,
Yeah.
right? That's a very beneficial data point to understand about the mindset of your enemy. You
Yeah.
need to understand what you're dealing with because you've got to outplay them on the chess field
Yeah.
of the battle. You need to understand that so you can exploit their strengths. Like we don't want to be going see who's going to play chicken in the Humvee with a guy that's an extreme Islamic terrorist because he wants to die. He thinks he's
Mhm.
going to heaven
Mhm.
and he's going to take me with him. So I want to avoid that situation the best I can because he has the upper hand, right? So I read these books. So one of the concepts of the warrior stuff is selfless. You must embrace death. The moment you embrace death as a warrior, you have a clarity on the battlefield because you're holding back. You're scared of death, and death, the worry of death, is in the way of your decisions. You need to take that mental block and embrace death. And how I did that on the battlefield at my time was I assumed I was already dead.
Mm.
Mentally, I knew I had a spirit and that this spirit was going to live on. Uh, Einstein says energy moves between states, energy to mass, mass back to energy, but it never dies. It's eternal. We know this. This is science. So the energy in me, there's elements in me that came from a dying star. They're only produced when a star explodes. Some of the compounds inside a human body. So I am a living star in some ways. Down at the atom level, that star lives on inside of me, even though it had to die. So I live on through my children, right? So I'm gonna live forever, right? The energy in my body will return back to the earth, and my spirit will go somewhere else. But the energy inside me is gonna live forever, and the traces of that energy is infinite. It never goes away. So I embraced death so that I can make clear decisions. I just assumed I was dead every day, and that made every single breath and every single decision very rapid. Right? We don't worry that the enemy could possibly get us. Like the infinite impossibility of what if is eating up your decision in the
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
The only time that I could ever control at the best of my ability is right in this moment. My thoughts, my actions, my self speak, what I put into my body, my physical activity, how I talk and treat with my girlfriend. Right now is always the time to not give my number out to that hot girl that wants to take me home. Right now was the time I needed to be strong. It wasn't tomorrow. It wasn't in the past. It was today. I
Yeah.
can only control today through my actions.
Yeah.
So that's how I got to the position of essentially my ethos on the battlefield, and those books and those behaviors align with it. So pick your discomfort, and that's how they handle business.
Yeah. Yeah. What a great conversation, man. Thank you so much for taking time out to come on and I'm so happy to have connected with you and get to introduce you to my audience and the fact that you're just sharing everything about your life and making such an impact on so many people's lives is I'm so grateful for that. So where can people connect with you, learn from you more?
No problem. So anybody in the world out there, and the whole planet of humans, has an issue with their life. Something I said resonates with you. You're in a deep, dark place. You're struggling with alcohol, addiction, physical fitness, nutrition. You want to level up your business. You struggle in social media. Anything that you see I'm doing well or I said resonate, you can find me any day of the week on Instagram. So it's at San Diego, like the city, underscore Clinton 1. If there's something wrong in your world, I can help you fix it.
Yeah.
Right? If you just need to talk with someone about depression, anxiety, suicide, you're having a tough time, don't hesitate to message. I'm on there all the time. Send me a message, say I need help. Like, we'll set up a call and we'll onboard you and get you going immediately. Just like my life, this happens fast. So you don't need to think like I need to wait a month to call and reach out to Clinton. You can send a message at the end of this podcast or during the podcast, and I guarantee you I can onboard you and set you up with a call and get you some time with me faster than you can blink.
He's a man of action. He's a man of proven results, and he's not just saying it; he's lived it. You know, he's proven in his own life what he can do, and now what he's doing is he can do that for you as well. So, Clinton, thanks so much for coming on. I look forward to learning more from you in the many years to come. And you're always welcome back here on the Sales Life.
Thank you, my man Marsh. I appreciate your time. What you're doing is amazing. Never stop. And we're out here to help the world in just the little ways that we can. So just be better every single day. And we're here to help. And we know you can do it. So
Yeah,
enjoy.
1 inch better, 1 inch better. Keep it simple, keep it moving, never settle, keep selling. Stay in the sales life.